Self-made, to me, is about reflecting on what it took. It's about realizing, God, what did I go through to get here?
I think when you start from a seed, I mean, we all know that. You start from a seed, and you might be the only person who keeps watering it, and it blossoms. That's self-made.
Self-made to me, it means everything, truthfully, Brett. It's a belief, it's an internal thing, a mentality, a mind frame. I did this with help, but I also did this by myself.
I knew if I worked hard and never give up, I knew I could accomplish my goal.
I think that's what makes you self-made, is because at the end of the day, it's not gonna be about anybody else. It's gonna be about yourself.
What you put into this game is what you'll get out of it. I'm gonna make sure that a day don't go by that I don't get better.
So from that point, it became like a self-conscious thing of being independent and having the confidence of saying whatever you want to say.
You have to go through those steps. You have to go through it, but it's all about the fight, right? And then once you reach that point, you appreciate the fight.
There we go. All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to be here.
Just on a side note, I'm usually drinking in those videos, so I'm not drinking right now, so it'll be interesting.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, and I won't be drinking either, and I know you'll all be happy for that. Hello, everybody. I'm Hub Brown. I'm the Dean of the College of Journalism and Communications. And it's my pleasure here to welcome Brett Berish, our fascinating guest, for this great Storytellers conversation. By way of introduction, Brett, who is an alumnus of the university, is president and CEO of Sovereign Brands, which he's built into one of the top companies globally in the wine and spirits industry. His brands include Armand de Brignac, am I saying that right?
Yep.
All right. Ooh,
Very good French.
practiced.
Very good French.
Also known as the Ace of Spades champagne. He sold that to Jay-Z in 2014. He also has Belaire, the #1 champagne and premium sparkling wine in the United States, and Bumbu Rum, the #1 premium rum globally. His brands also include McQueen and the Velvet Fog Gin. McQueen and the Velvet Fog. I love that name.
Thank you.
That's a great name. And the company's newest creation, Vion Cognac. Did I say that right?
He's perfect.
Man, I'm good. I'm batting 1,000 today. So Brett really here, he's an entrepreneur whose involvement in the wine and spirits industry is in part a family affair. Brett is the son of CJC alumnus and Hall of Fame member Brett Berish, who led Jim Beam Brands for many years. Part of Brett's remarkable success is connecting the brands to celebrities who genuinely love the products and serve as their ambassadors. The clip you saw here at the beginning is from a series he created called Self-Made. You might have seen some of that. He has interviewed celebrities on that podcast, on that show, about their business moves and their self-made success. And some of those celebrities, you saw Lil Wayne up there, Wiz Khalifa, you saw Post Malone, Rick Ross, DJ Khaled, music entrepreneur Steve Aoki, and others. So as part of our Great Storytellers series here, our conversation will talk about how Brett's marketing strategies and instincts elevated his brands, and we'll share his own self-made story. And we will have time for your questions. So let's get those ready, okay? Please join me in welcoming Brett Berish.
Thank you, Dean Hub. Appreciate it.
Oh, of course, of course. So first off, let's rewind the tape a little bit to when you were on this campus. What was life like for you here?
It was a smaller campus. It was amazing. My first 2 years was here in the dorms, and then eventually my fraternity, which was Chi Phi.
Got some Chi Phi fellas.
It was everything that college experience that you want from a college experience. I think I was lucky also because at the time I knew my father went to school here too, so there's a sense of tradition. I also went to school when Emmett Smith was here, so he and I were the same year and we're friends. It was amazing. It was a great, fantastic experience. Loved it.
Does it? You get a little catch in the throat when you walk around a little bit? A little bit of emotion?
It brings back memories. It brings back everything from weird memories from when I joined the fraternity. I lived in my car for a week because I had nowhere to live, and luckily enough, Chi-Phi had a room in the house. I lived in the house as a pledge, so that was great. It gave me memories. I started a company while I was in the dorms. I was telling Hub while I was in the dorms, and back then I didn't know that you're not allowed to start a company in the dorm, and they kicked me out. But he told me it's changed today. So it gave me, I had an entrepreneurial spirit back then, and it just fueled what I wanted, which I didn't know at the time, but what I wanted.
Yeah, yeah. Your dad led Jim Beam for a whole lot of years. How did that impact your thinking as you go forward into making brands and landing with Sovereign?
My parents, it's interesting, as much as I love my father, and he was at the same company for 45 years in the liquor space, in the liquor business, he has tremendous passion for what he did for a living, and he instilled that in my brothers and I have 3 brothers who are all in the business now. He just gave us a tremendous work ethic and pride of what we do. We loved it. But I have to give credit to my mom. She's fearless, she's tenacious, she's crazy, she's 93 years old, she rollerblades every day. She carries our business card. She'll go up to anybody and everybody and just start talking about our brands. And she's instilled in me that idea that it's like, I'll give you a silly example, segue from my mom to Nipsey Hussle. You know, pop your trunk. You gotta just get down and dirty and just sell stuff. And she instilled that in us, and that's the key to my success, is just being able to just be fearless. Because if you're scared, it's going to be difficult.
That's one heck of a present to give a son.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate, very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Walk us into the beginning of Sovereign a little bit. You know, did you just see an unfilled need, or did you just feel like you needed to create? What was that about?
So, and maybe some of you are like me. I think there's certain people in life who they know exactly what they want to do, exactly, and God bless them. My daughter's 23. She loves what she's doing, and she sees herself living in the space she's in. I was that kid sitting in a room like this where I just had a million ideas. And my biggest problem is I just didn't pick any. It sucked. And the fear was this idea that if I pick that, then I'm leaving something else behind that may be better or could be something. And so I was and I tell people this all the time, I was lost until my early 30s. And then I finally just said, I think there's moments in life where you just make a commitment. And I just said, I'm gonna do this. I love the liquor space. I've always wanted to do something in the liquor space. I never worked in it. I just knew it from sitting around the dinner table with my dad, and launched the company in one specific brand, our first brand. But that was, I think what I've learned is I've never looked back, and I've never run out of ideas. They don't go away. They're always going to keep coming. But if you're successful at one thing, everything else becomes easier. And that's the thing I didn't realize. If you can just focus on one thing, make that successful, you're never going to run out of ideas, and you're just going to make it easier for yourself the next time.
Absolutely. You've talked to me about failure being a part of that early process. What was that about? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think failure is critical. I tell my team all the time, we're big believers I tell our team, don't be afraid to fail. And I'm doing it every single day, because failing is trying things. And I'm a big believer in pivoting constantly, in the idea that what works today may not work tomorrow. What you tried today, you may pivot. I almost think, I was watching a TV show, and I think business people should be like comedians. It's like improv. When a comedian goes up on stage and tells a joke for the first time, they get a feedback from the audience as how that joke works, and then they come back the next night, they change a little bit based on that feedback, and then the next night they change it, and they keep improving on it. And that, to me, is success, is figuring out, you start with one thing and you end up with something else, but it's those failures that get you there. It's those trying things. And for me, it was a learning curve. It was everything from, it's funny, and I'm digressing, this interview series I do, Hub, which is self-made, it's all based on me not like, I hate hearing people's success story. I hate it because it sounds easy. It sounds like it just happened overnight. It sounds like anybody can do it. And for me, that wasn't a reality. My first 6, 7 years absolutely sucked. I lost my house because I stopped paying my mortgage, and because I put it all in the business. I stopped paying my taxes to the IRS, and the IRS came and found me and swiped my bank account, and then I put my money in my then girlfriend, now my wife's name, because I was hoping they wouldn't find me. But what it taught me was slow down. There's no rush to get there. You'll eventually get there. So those failures helps, at least it helped me. And I think it's in everybody, and it's the hard part of getting there, but you learn everything. You learn success that way.
I think you touched on something. It also means you sort of learn the story. You learn the arc of a story.
There's so many things you can take away from it, which is, I think it becomes part of the story. Yeah. I think, my brands, as an example, their overarching ethos, or their being, is this concept of self-made. It doesn't exist without the failure. Me talking to these people that I get to interview is based on them appreciating that side of it, seeing what I have done or what I have achieved or what these brands mean to people. So to me, storytelling, and I was telling Dean Brown this on a call together, and for those of you in journalism and writing, I mean, storytelling is what builds brands. It is what tells stories. It is what creates anything, is storytelling. So to me, everything I do every day is storytelling, because that generates excitement, enthusiasm, energy, motivation. You need that, whether it's in sports and you need the whole team to pull together, someone's telling something to motivate somebody to get out there and work harder. That's storytelling.
Mm-hmm. And when you plug that into the brand itself, it's become so much more than just you've got a business where you're selling spirits and champagne and things like that. It's about an image. It's about an arc, those sorts of things, right? So it's necessary to tell a story to link it to that.
It is for me. It is for me. There's no question that, and in my space, in my industry, brands are built without that. There's no question. But I think the more...
So if brands are built without that, why is it necessary for you to have it?
Because it's authentic and it's real. And I had the chairman of Pernod Ricard, which is the second biggest liquor company in the world, in my office on Friday. And he had a new PR person who came from Gucci, one of the big giant fashion houses in the world. And she was in our space for 10 minutes. And she's like, Brett, your brands are part of culture. And she got it right away. And that's authentic. Having your brands part of culture means it's authentic, it's real. I'm not forcing anybody onto my brands. I want people to discover my brands on their own and take ownership of those brands. They're authentic. There's an authentic story. I'm not going to BS anybody about what we're doing. So to me, it ties back to the brands. So if you ask me, Brett, was that always the plan? No, but it's evolved into what we are. And to me, it inspires a movement. It inspires the brands. It works together. And I think if you can be honest and realistic about who you are, that is just as important, if not more important, about what you're doing, because you're making those two things mix together.
You're touching on something else that sort of, to me, is an element of this, and that is identity.
Sure.
And you see the thread, and when you look at Self-Made, you sort of see the thread of the importance of identity in those interviews. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that means?
Well, I find it interesting. I get to, and I'm guessing a lot of you know who DJ Khaled and Post Malone and all these people are. What's so cool to me is I look at it as I'm nobody, but my brands are somebody, and they're talking to me because those brands mean something to them. That's identity. That's building something. That's creating something. That's something where You know, if you go on our Instagram sites, whether it's Belaire or Bumbu, if I take Bumbu, my rum has more followers than the two biggest rum brands in the world, which is one is called Bacardi and one is Captain Morgan. Those are just giants in the industry. They spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising. Yet I have more Instagram followers and I don't advertise. I'm the brand that people hold up and they're holding and taking pictures of. They may be drinking those guys, but they're holding mine because those guys are cheaper. But they're holding it because the brands represent something. They have an identity. They mean something more. It's a brand. It's a real thing. It's something that literally you'll tattoo on yourself. That's identity. So to me, it all works together.
Yeah. The artists that you are talking to in rap, it's so distinctive. It's such a distinctive part of that identity. What's important to know as you maybe approach a new artist or approach somebody to really talk to about maybe becoming a part of Self-Made and doing an interview with those? What's important to know to begin that dialogue with an artist in the rap game?
So, well, first, take a step back. The reason that whether it's sports or music or an actor, an actress, or a business person, I'm personally drawn to that genre. It's something I like. So I'm not looking at it from a business perspective. I'm looking at it from it's a lifestyle. It's a personal choice.
You're a fan.
I'm a fan, 100%. I'm a fan. So that's where it starts. And again, it gets back to this idea that in my early days, I made lots of mistakes in making transactions happen. And to me, I don't want any transactions. I want this organic relationship. So everybody that I work with or I meet, I just met, who did I meet on Thursday? Fabio Foray? How do you say it? How do you say it? Fivio Foreign. He's a big up-and-coming artist. And Jay Critch was in my office, and Rowdy Rebel, big New Yorker, was in my office. And I'm meeting these guys for the first time, but they all know my brands. And that, to me, is an organic relationship where I'm getting to know them, they're getting to know me. Do they understand what I'm trying to do? Do I understand what they're trying to accomplish? And is there something we can do together? So, 9 out of 10 will probably walk out of the room. I won't hear from them again. But that one who wants to stay, who wants to be the Rick Ross, who wants to do everything he possibly can with me in any possibly way he can, or Lil Wayne or Wiz Khalifa or Khaled, those are the guys I want to work with. But it's not because of transaction. It's because there's an organic relationship that was built and it's real. And to me, it's like dating or getting married. You don't jump in. You got to get to know these people over time. And then you make a commitment. That's what I'm doing. And that's building a relationship. And then once that happens, oh my gosh, there's so much I can give to the relationship and there's so much they can give. And there's a mutual benefit that comes from this. But I'm a huge fan of music. I'm a bigger fan today of probably new artists than established artists, because now I get to play a role in helping young artists become big artists. So you saw the interview with Post. Post Malone had one song. He had White Iverson. That was one song when we talked to him. Or G Herbo was nothing when we talked to him. Or A Boogie with the Hoodie. Again, I'm giving music quotes. So it's fun. It's fun. And again, that's where it's you got to be excited about it. And I like to do things that gets me excited.
It's interesting because one of the things that I'm hearing is that what you're saying is, you don't have to be overly crafty about this. Do what speaks to you.
100%. 100%. It's got to feel good. It's got to feel right. You can't, I like to say, you can't fake passion. You can't fake drive. You can't fake love of what you're doing. It's either there or it's not. And I just want, everything I do is trying to find people, whether it's my team of 150 now. I call my international team, as an example, the Avengers. And we're all the Avengers. we're all in it. We're excited. There's things going on. So you want people, whether it's in business, it could be the UPS guy who picks up our packages, who's just excited because he gets our brands and he's excited to drop things off and he's excited to pick it up because it's like you see it. You can't fake that shit and it's real.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. There's a lot of colleagues that I have in the college who, they're just like that. They're dying to go into class and teach. And they love it, and it's just like it's a part of them.
You have to, but at the same time, we're all connected. Business isn't one person. Writing isn't one person. You're all connected, so you want to hopefully surround yourselves with people who, and that's why I do these interviews. I swear, I love them, but I'm doing them for me. I get motivated by them. I get motivated by hearing somebody when. There's an artist out of North Carolina, her name is Rhapsody. She's amazing. She wasn't famous or semi-famous until her late 30s or so. And when I asked her what self-made means, she's like, Brett, if I could just pay to get to the studio, I'm happy. Like, that's love for what you do. For me, it was, I remember, I had investors in my company. They wanted to wind up the company. This was maybe 5 or 6 years in. And I remember calling my mom and telling her what was going on. And she's like, Brad, I'll sell my rings for you. I'm like, no, don't worry. We'll figure this out. And I remember telling her, if I can just make a living, I'm done. I'm done, because I really liked what I was doing. And at that point, and it gets back to your first question about kind of, what did you learn from failure? It's not about the money. And it wasn't at that point. It was just about being happy. And I'll get there eventually. Because I was that kid, I still get them today, when you see business plans or somebody's business plan where it says, if I can just get 1% of the industry, I get this much in value, and you multiply that by the multiple of all these companies that were ever sold, and I'm going to sell this in 5 years. That's not real. It may be real for the 1% of people out there, but that's not how businesses are built. They're just like a relationship. They ebb and flow, and they get better, they get worse, but eventually things work out.
You make me think of some of the early days of reporting for me when I was just starting out at a TV station and walking into the newsroom and saying, I can't believe I get paid to do this. There is that element of it. It's like, I'm so lucky to be here.
Yeah, and it gets, like I said earlier, it's interesting. I've never run out of ideas. I'm just really happy with my current focus, but then every so often I'll have an idea, like I'm gonna start a music label. I can do that. It's all because I focused on one idea, and made that successful. And it works. But having said all that, again, everything we just talked about, at the end of the day, my brand, I'm not in the entertainment space, I'm not in the music space, I'm in the liquor business. I have brands that their entire being exists because they're better than their competition. There's a story behind them, there's a taste profile behind them. There's a package that should be and is better than everyone else's. It's got blood, sweat, and tears built into these. If these brands weren't good, doesn't matter what famous person is drinking them, they're never going to come back if they don't taste good and they don't have their own being. So at the end of the day, I'm in the liquor business.
Still got to deliver the goods.
Correct.
Absolutely. We're in the storytelling business in the College of Journalism and Communications, and at the center of storytelling is interviewing. So what's your idea of a good interview? What makes a good interview?
It's so hard. It's funny. I'm not a professional at it at all. I look at it as I want to know a little bit, just a little bit, because I don't want to know a lot. Because if I know a lot, then I'm not genuinely surprised. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I want to be surprised. I want it to be authentic. I want it to be real. I think the harder part is the other side, because it's getting them to be honest. It's getting them to tell you stuff, not in a bad way, but stuff that's just, it's the real stuff, the shit that for me personally, it's the real stuff, the shit that they went through, the hard stuff that they went through, how they got there, whether it's Steve Aoki telling me his dad was a complete asshole. I get it, you know. Not that my dad is, sorry. But you want to hear that, or Nipsey popping his trunk, or you know, I can't remember who I interviewed was telling me that, you know, he won't buy furniture. He's not gonna. He just moved into a new apartment. He doesn't have all his furniture, and he's never gonna have all his furniture. And I asked why. He says, I don't want to get comfortable. I don't want to get comfortable. You know, you know, it's trying to, and I'm curious, and it's a personal thing. I'm curious about family. I'm curious about people who supported them, who didn't support them. I'm curious about, are they still in touch with the people from day one or not? You know, my PR people, my marketing people ask them what their favorite clothes are, what they wear. I don't really care. I don't want to know that. Yeah, it may make for good content, but it's a personal thing. So to me, it's what I want out of it, what I want to hear, what's interesting to me, because you're never going to please all audiences. It's same with my brands. A brand is not for everybody, but it just needs its own lane to live in. And that's the same with an interview. It just has to appeal to hopefully who gets it. And that's, at the end of the day, that's brand building.
Yeah. Who's your favorite interview? When you look back at all these interviews, who jumps out as like the person that's like, yeah, I could do like a whole other show with this person?
I don't think, there's not one, there's pieces. There's no question that it's, in some cases, it's the younger guys who aren't there yet, who are getting big. Like, I remember Abe Boogie with the Hoodie. We're in Houston, and he's on his first tour, and he called downstairs to see at the venue, because it held 1,500 people, and he was so nervous that no one was there, because he had no idea. He didn't know if he had any fans in Houston. Like, it's just neat. Or we're sitting there at dinner, and he's got like a security guy, and somebody at the next table comes over to the security guy to get his autograph. He had no idea who A Boogie was. You know, it's just neat to be around people who are on the up and coming. It's neat to see when I interviewed Nipsey, you know, he comes alone. He's there before the interview. We talked for hours. Just the coolest guy, and that's when it's surprising. I love talking to, I think Ross is better off interview, because he motivates the hell out of me. This is the guy I point to every artist in the world, and I always point to, be like Rick Ross, follow this guy, follow his moves, because he just gets it. I think the biggest problem I think artists have is they're afraid. They're afraid of making the wrong move. You can make any move the right move. You just got to embrace it. And they're all afraid of making the wrong move. But they all have a different story. Khaled was great. They all have a different story. Post, I loved hearing the stories about his dad, and Post would be made fun of when he'd go to high school. He was made fun of all the time because he'd wear suits. And he wanted to wear a suit because that's what his dad wore every day. And kids would just make fun of him, you know? And it's just, and you can tell like that built into who he was. And his persona, he embraced who he was. He was different than everybody else. But they're all different. They're all different.
It sounds like though with Rick Ross, you're sort of a kindred spirit with the man.
Love him. He motivates the crap out of me. He's always got ideas. And that's why you need people, if anything, you need people like this in your life, whether you're doing business with them or not, just people who motivate you, who give you ideas, who throw things at you can bounce ideas off of. I need that. I need that. And I always think what I need, other people need too in some ways. But Rick, I love. But everyone's got something to give. It's like even today as an example, there may be, hopefully there's more than one, but maybe there's just one thing that kind of you picked up on, that you liked or that resonated. That's all it takes to get you to the next thing, that brings you something. You know, I was talking to Dean Brown about, again, what this is on, storytelling. There's two things, and again, I give presentations to, it's called a general sales meeting with our distributors and their salespeople. And the two things I'm now saying about what I think makes successful brands: energy and stories. And I never said that before. These are new ideas that came in my head. And I really do believe it. I think energy, just that sheer power of being excited and motivated and just the will to succeed makes brands. And the other one is storytelling. Storytelling is critical because if you have stories to tell, and for me it's success stories. On, Bumbu, we sell 100,000 cases in Canada. No one from my company has ever been to Canada. That's crazy. 100,000 cases is insane. It's insane in a country that no one's ever been to in my company. That's a great story. Or in the country of Latvia, that they don't even have rum as a category. My rum does 20,000 cases a year. The population's 1.7 million, and they have a gross household income of $7,000. In the US, we're $70,000, and we have 300 million people. That's the equivalent of 2.5 million cases in the United States. It's a great story. It's a ridiculous story. It's motivating for people. Belaire, I'm in 80 countries. In Korea, we're the #1 champagne in Korea. It's nuts. We're the #1 champagne in Vietnam. That's crazy. In Belgium, we sell 100%. We're #1 in Belgium and #1 in Czech with my rum. In Belgium, 100% of my sales is retail. In Czech, 100% of my sales is bar restaurants. They both work. I don't care. Those are stories. So to me, stories makes things. It just creates this aura, and it's all about telling stories. That's it.
Yeah. So you talked about some of your favorite interviews. Are there any that you're willing to admit are the least favorites? Or
I won't. Least favorite is the canned.
Yeah, what's hype?
It's canned answers. It's not. It's just not being. I don't know. We've all had hardship in our own way. There's a story there to tell, and if you're afraid to tell that side, I think you're missing the opportunity to share insight and to share for the next generation, and to share some just honesty. Because I think, and that's the thing. I think the failure side is even more fulfilling for people to hear than the success side. And I think that's the side, and I tell artists of this all the time as an example: share that side, because your fans will love you for that. They'll love, because it's motivating. They already love you, but they'll love you even more if you tell that side. Yeah, those would be the ones.
You could really like be kind of a counselor to some of these folks, and just simply to talk to them about managing their own image, right? I mean, what would you do if basically these people began to say, you know what, we'd like to hire you as a counselor. How would you counsel me through my career?
I think most people, and I would be one of those, they need to fail a little bit before they get to that point. Mm-hmm. They need to, as much as you tell somebody until they're blue in the face. I remember Fat Joe was telling me, Fat Joe has gone broke. I don't know if you know who Fat Joe is, but he's a legend in the music space.
I see some nods.
He went broke twice. He would take a private plane from New York to Connecticut for dinner. Just nuts. And he'd admit himself that he didn't learn his lesson until he just made these massive mistakes. And that's the hard part. But at least he learned his lesson. And that's what failing is. You got to figure this stuff out. Not failing, but just, you're learning the hard way. You're learning the hard way. And I think it's watching other people's moves. My advice is always pointing to people that they could emulate or look like in their own way. They can do things, in their own way. But sometimes you gotta, just like your parents, they have to tell you 2 or 3 times before it sinks in.
Yeah. I'm going to remind you all that there will be opportunities for questions. So let's start queuing those bad boys up, all right? Okay, good. Let's talk a little bit about, first of all, the future for Sovereign itself and the kinds of things you're interested in doing next.
it feels like I've been doing it for 22 years. As I said, the first 6 sucked, horrifying. The next 15 have been fantastic. And I'm still on the runway. We're just getting started. So I have 4 brands today. Got another 2 new brands coming out next year. I have another 8 brands coming in the pipeline in the wine and spirit space. We're growing. I'm big into Africa right now. This is another great example of finding opportunities just based on evolving. I'm a huge Africa fan, a huge Afro beats, African music fan, and now I'm putting a lot of emphasis in just supporting artists from Africa because I think, and pushing artists in the U.S. to Africa because I think there's a tremendous value creation between artists. So just keep doing new brands, keep doing these things, and I don't know, it's funny, the whole thesis of what I wanted to do hasn't changed. I just want to create, if I can make a better brand in an existing category that we compete in, then I've got something. If I can't make it better, I won't launch it. And I just want to keep doing new brands. So nothing's changed. We're just going to keep getting bigger.
Are you beginning to move into the market in countries in Africa?
Oh yeah, we're in every country in Africa. Belaire is an example, which is neat. So I say this, I'm learning. I say this part, which I love. I tell people, I say the quiet part out loud. I want to crush my competition. I want to absolutely crush them. And I think that's a healthy thing to say. But in Africa, as an example, my big competitor with our brands, like a brand like Belaire, is brands like Moet and Veuve. I want to kill them. I want to crush them. We're going to be the #1 champagne in all of Africa, and it's going to happen the next 2 to 3 years. And I think the same thing can happen globally, and it's happening. But we're in basically all the markets in Africa.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, we're in, and again, this is where I learn, every day I'm learning something, whether it's the travels I go on, if I go overseas and visit countries, you're bringing back something, a new idea, a new thought, a new way to do something. I'll never forget, Wayne was up there, Little Wayne, we did this really funny little video with Wayne where where he's with goats. Bumbu, our rum, we call it the goat, the greatest of all time. We think Wayne is the goat, and we think different people are the goats. Anyway, but we put out this video that we didn't think, I thought it was amazing. I thought it'd be so funny, and it just didn't get a lot of views. And then it hit me and my team that it was too nice, it was too clean, it was too perfect. And that's where you've got to adapt. You've got to question it. You can't justify things. I think that's the big mistake everybody makes, is justifying it. The key is don't justify, rip it apart and figure out, how can I do better? So everything we ever do is asking that question. Don't tell me what went well, tell me what didn't work. What didn't work, and that's how we get there. Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. The kinds of things that you're doing in different countries, I'm sure you touched a little bit on the lessons that you're learning. What are you learning about human nature and culture when your brand performs differently in Latvia versus Estonia, or different in Nigeria versus Rwanda, or what are you learning about culture when you're doing that?
It's a good question. I think I'd almost say it's, to me, brands, and I think it can go for anything. It's not the culture that changes. It's trying to change the mentality of people thinking that things don't belong, or things shouldn't resonate, or this shouldn't work. That's the part that we are constantly doing every day. So my example of Latvia and rum, the first thing someone says is, it's not going to work here. It's never going to work. We don't drink rum. And my view is that's not true. That's actually the opportunity. It's the opposite. We're here to set the trend. We're not here to follow somebody else's trend. So my job, I think culturally everything's the same. Everybody wants You know, for me personally, you want the best. You want high end. You want something that feels the same impulses, the same self-made, the same motivations. It's all the same everywhere. It's trying to convince people or your industry or your trade, okay, think differently. Don't think like that. Be open-minded. Try things. And the key is just to find one person who believes you, who gets it, so that then they can tell one other person, and it starts building from there. So I remember our importer in Canada, we do very well with our brand Belaire, and our importer in Canada said when our Bumbu Rum launched, he says, Brett, I remember we were at John Varvatos store in New York, and I remember him saying, Brett, I just don't get the rum. I don't get it. And I said, Steve, don't worry about it. It's not for you. Forget about it. He's kicking himself because we gave the brand to somebody else who got it, who understood it, and now it's the single biggest rum in all of Canada. But that's it. That's what life is about, is trying to find people who just get it, and you build your army that way, is building it that way. And in some ways, I think I think culturally, the other thing I think is really true is saying no. Saying no is the most powerful thing you could ever do to somebody. It's whether it was Jay-Z who said to me, you know, Brett, when I had Ace of Spades, can you give me a bottle? And my response is no. You want to buy a bottle? Buy it, but I'm not going to give it to you. It's expensive. Saying no is a powerful thing because you're trying to train people and educate them to respect the brand, respect you, what you have to offer. So if people are doubters, we'll tell our distributors, you know, move on, fuck them, I don't care. You know, you got to find that one who says yes. But if you got to convince somebody, if you got to kiss their ass until the end, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. But saying no is a powerful, powerful statement.
I had a mentor instructor once who told me as I was beginning this, your yes means nothing if you never use your no.
Correct.
You know, that you have to be able to refuse something.
It's the most powerful, powerful thing. Most powerful thing. We had, no, I won't tell this. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah. So you refer to your storytelling, your marketing and storytelling team as the Avengers. You know, what do you look for in an Avenger? What do you look for somebody to be a part of your team?
It's a great question. So I'm going to answer it two ways. One is, if you ask me who's the most important person in my company, I would say his name is Scott Cohen. Scott's been with me for 17 years, and Scott has something that I wish I had. He's a great writer, a fantastic writer. I can teach brands, you can teach math. Teaching writing is hard. Being able to write, being able to storytell, being able to put color to words, because that's what brands are, to anything is just critical. So writing to us is key to what we do. The other side is it's energy and passion and excitement and motivation. It's things that I think are very, very hard to teach. One of our biggest areas in marketing, as an example, we have no we've never hired a brand manager. A brand manager is somebody who literally manages the brand from a marketing side. I have only hired PR people. That's who we've always hired, and they've become brand managers. And my view of the world is I can't teach PR. PR is something you have to learn. You have to learn how to be good at it and learn how to outreach and learn how to finagle and learn how to talk to people. It's writing skills. I can teach you the brands, but I can't teach PR. So those two things I think are, from a marketing side, there's no question the energy and everything, but from a skill set, it's that public relations side I really believe in.
Very good, very good. So I'm going to turn to you all for questions in just a second, but I got to ask you. So their playlist, they got all kinds of stuff on their playlist. You're talking about new artists and stuff like that. You're talking about African artists. Who do they need to have on their playlist, man?
Oh, no, I'm going old school. Who on the playlist? I like a kid from Africa named Jay Bad. Medical, another one. Who I love, I don't know if you, I like these two brothers here, Ayo and Teo. They got that song, that old school, that song Rolex, Roly, Roly, Roly. Anyway. Who else? There's so many. There's so many. I just like up and coming right now. I like up and coming. I just think it's neat to see when people pop.
You like to turn over new stuff on the list all the time.
Yeah, but I'm also, it's funny, for me with music it's more about the person, and then I like the music because of the person.
Yeah.
So I'm vested in them. I'm vested in them.
That's interesting. Very good. Okay, let's turn it over to have some questions. Anybody? Push your hand up. Let's see. Yes. I'm going to repeat your question too so everybody can hear. Go ahead.
When you said the first 6 to 7 years, like the business was growth, was there like a pivotal turning point?
Was there a pivotal turning point in the 6 to 7 years? First 6 7 years.
Well, I'll say it differently. I've had my first brand doesn't exist. It failed, but I consider it my most successful brand because everything I do today and yesterday in the past 15, 16 years is because of that brand. I learned everything. So it's moments, it's lots of things. It's not one thing, it's just constantly learning, constantly figuring it out, constantly assessing why didn't this work. So one of the big things I do now is, it's funny, someone asked me, sometimes not having a plan is a good plan. And it sounds strange, but I know, like when I launch a brand, the brand's done, but I don't know what it is until I let it go into the market to see where it works and how it works. So if I had a plan, this is what I'm gonna do for the next 2 years on this brand, if I'm wrong, I just wasted 2 years and all this money. So for me, it's just putting it out there. But I think it's constant, many different things, but I think the big ones are slowing down. It's not about the money. There's no rush to get there because I think I was in a mad rush. I want it now. It wasn't in the cards, but it happened. But you can't force it. Does that make sense?
That's very good. Other questions? Yes, right here.
It's actually just coming off the spectacular failure myself, just lost my last company. Can you lean more into that? Can you lean into, like, expand on what it was like to go through that acrimony of failure, having the fortitude to dust yourself off, get back in higher spots?
Yeah, oh God. It sucks, but at the same time, you've learned. To me, this is why I always never understood why people leave after 20 years of something that they've been focused on. You just spent 20 years or 10 years or 5 years learning everything. So you got to take that and keep going with it. Does that make sense? So to me, that's what it was. It was taking all this goods and bads and just keep going. Because if I do anything else, then I'm really starting over. You know what I mean? But it's taking all that equity that I put in, not the dollar equity, the blood, sweat, and tears in this, and turning it into something else. And that's what I did, literally. So from then on, I've had, again, I don't think anybody can say, I've had four brands hugely successful, and I don't think anybody else can say that. And it's all because of that first, I almost think of it as different companies. They're different brands, it's just like different companies.
Mm-hmm. Very good, yes. Other questions, right over here.
Okay, so you talked about constantly learning and assessing. How do you go about assessing like past projects? And like, what's your thought process to think about like what succeeded and what didn't and how you can learn?
What's the thought process around the succeeding, what succeeded, what
It's
failed?
everything. Let's take last Thursday. We had, first time we've ever done, I have a really cool space in New York. If anybody's ever in New York, want to come visit. Really dope space, very interactive, and we had all these different artists and celebrities. We had, for those of you who know Jacob the jeweler was in. That was really cool. So anyway, we had all these different people in, and the event was fantastic. It was great. But the first question I ask my team is, okay, what didn't work? Did anybody get the phone numbers of all the people that were there? And some of them didn't do that. Some of them went up and got video content of some of the people with the artists, with our brands. And I asked one of the guys, well, what'd you do? Well, I just went up and asked. Well, why didn't the other people go do that? So it's just, it's taking that simple day and questioning it. Just questioning it. What could we have done better? What could we have done, you know, what could have worked better? What could have, that's how I think about everything. And I think it's a healthy way to do it because you can justify anything. We did an event in Atlanta, Georgia at Rick Ross's house. He's got the biggest house in the South. It's 60,000 square feet. It's 300 acres. It used to be in the boxer Evander Holyfield's house. I've never done an event like this. I wanted to do it. My team, everybody thought it was an amazing event. We had distributors in from 3 different states. I will never do this event ever again. I thought it was a waste. It was my idea, and if I rip it apart, it was a waste of money, and I could have taken, you know, $300,000, $400,000 I spent on it, and I could have hired, you know, 7 people for a full year doing so much more value out of it. But the key is rip it apart. Be honest about it. Did it really work? Was it really successful? So that to me is an everyday occurrence.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Yes, straight back there, yes.
What's one thing you do in your life that drives your inspiration?
What's one thing you do in your life that drives your inspiration? That's a good question as well.
It is a good question. What's one thing? Yeah, I walk. Thank you. I walk every day like 10, 15 miles in the morning. And it just clears my head, allows me to think. I get ideas. I don't know. It's just, it's like, to me, it's a release. If I don't do it, I'm miserable. It all happened because of COVID. It's my new one. So over the past 2 or 3 years. But walking and being around people that inspire. My Rick Ross, he's my love. No offense. Like I need that. I need that phone call where he's just, I'm on this new weed. It's amazing. I have a new idea. Like it's awesome. Like I need that.
Stemming from that, because I know you talked about Rick Ross, would you consider him a mentor?
Of course, because a mentor is anybody you can just learn from. Doesn't matter. I learned again. It could be, you know, it doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter the age, whatever. A mentor is anything you can learn. You can pick their brain and get something from them, definitely.
Absolutely, great one. Yes, right here.
So it sounds like you've found people with a lot of talent in different spaces. So what's a talent that you can identify about yourself that you bring to your own company?
Say again? What's
a talent about yourself that you bring to your own company?
Yeah.
I think it's a good question. I think it's the same that my dad does. People have told me, it's hard to see yourself. Does that make sense? It's hard to see yourself. But from what I'm told, I'm like my dad in that I look at him, he just got starry-eyed talking about his business and the company and building stuff and brands. And I think I have that too. I just don't know what I look like. You know what I mean? But I think that energy comes across to the team. Because again, it's funny, I say this to my wife all the time, I'm a cheerleader. I have to be. Someone's got to cheerlead everybody and move them in the right direction. And when it's good, it's easy. When in bad times, you got to do it even more.
Mm-hmm. Excellent question. Straight back here. Yeah, you.
Have you ever tried to establish relationships with artists and media personalities who don't have like the previous interest in your product?
If I think I understand you. No, in the sense of I want it to be organic. I want, you know, there's an artist from, probably everybody knows Kodak Black. He's a huge Gator fan. But Kodak, as an example, I remember being in the car with somebody who said, Brett, you know, you're in that song Patty Cake. by Kodak Black, Belaire is. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, I got to go talk to this kid. This is great. Like, he did me a solid. I want to meet him. So to me, I need it to be authentic. I don't want to. I don't want brands forced onto me. I want to feel like I discovered it, and I want that type of relationship. You know, if they're not drinking Belaire, then why would I do anything? Then it's not real. It's not authentic. You know, a great example. This is a neat one. Gucci Mane. Does anybody know who Gucci Mane is? Gucci. We came out with a new brand called Belaire Blue. Gucci loves it. Loves it. It's crazy. He's so into this brand. Gucci doesn't drink, but he gets the brand. The color, the branding, he loves being associated with it. But he taught me something, which is really cool, is you don't need to drink it if you just get it. You get what the brand means and what it means to him. He wants to be associated with it, which is it's even a better story.
That is a great story. We're going to take about 2 more questions. I'm going to go right. You in the glasses right there. Yes, right straight behind.
So, being a sports journalist, I was watching the Rams Super Bowl parade.
Love it.
And saw them carrying like bottles of Belaire and stuff. How does that make you feel, and how does that help like grow your product?
It's absolutely amazing, and the reason is I'll give you examples. The Golden State Warriors, when they won, they celebrated with Belaire. The Chicago Cubs, when they won, they celebrated. The Miami Heat, when they won, they celebrated. I could name team after team after team. And you know what they all have in common? They all have giant liquor companies sponsoring them in the locker rooms with the teams, but yet they're holding my brand. That's culture. That's organic. That is an amazing feeling when somebody's holding your brand because that's what they want. That's what they want to be associated with. Someone's paying somebody else for that relationship. They don't want it. They want our brands. It's a fantastic, fantastic feeling.
Authenticity. Okay, who gets the last question? Let's see. I know. I'm very sorry we're running out of time here, but you right there. Yes.
Kind of going off of his last question, why do you think celebrities love your brand so much?
I don't look at it as celebrities. Everybody does, and I don't mean it that way. Well, I think a couple things. I think brands mean something. It represents something. It has the power to move people. It has the power to connect people. I think for my brands, I think if I'm in Gainesville today and I go to a bar and I order Bumbu and I'm in New York tomorrow, I want the same brand. If I'm in Paris the next day, I want the same brand. Brands are a badge of honor. It's loyalty. And these are the brands that consumers have picked up, and they mean something. Either they just like them. It could be so many different things, and that's where you have to have. To me, it's never one thing that makes a brand. It could be the logo. It could be the bottle. It could be the name. It could be just the liquid itself. It could be somebody else is consuming it. It could be so many different aspects, but something clicked with them and with me. You know, there's a reason I like this shirt. I don't know what brand it. I like it. I like these overalls. You know, there's a feeling that it gives me, and that's the amazing thing about brands, is it's given those people a feeling.
Very good.
I'm happy to, for those, I know I'm going to answer yours,
Yeah.
you should raise your hand. I'm happy to stick around and answer questions after.
See that? Okay. But one more from me to them, and that is, what is your advice? I mean, you were them not that long ago. What is your advice to these students going forward?
I think find people like me to ask questions to. I wish I had me. I wish I had me to just bounce ideas off of and give me advice. And I love giving my friends' kids advice. I think it's a wonderful thing to ask questions. Again, there's no right answers to anything, but if it can lead you in a direction, but use me as an example. I think that's my one takeaway. Use me as an example. I failed miserably. I lost everything. And in some ways, it was the best thing. In many ways, it was the best thing that ever happened because it got me to where I am. So failure is not it's a positive thing. When things don't work, it's a positive thing. Learn from it, learn from it, learn from it. For those of you who are in the journalism program, writing, I think I wish that's something I had done. I think it's such a value added to be able to write, such a value added. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. My mom tells me all the time, Brett, all they can do is say no. You gotta ask. You gotta ask.
That's perfect advice to end on, at least this portion of it. And Brett says he'll stay for a little bit here to answer some of your questions, but please join me now with a little bit of appreciation for Brett Berish.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you all for coming. It's great to see you here. We're going to do more events like this. Just tell your friends, and we'll be back with some more. Just we'll let you know. Take care, everybody.